I need you, when this comes up, I'm gonna need you to exit out of it. So are these connected?
Yeah.
This is all the same. Just different screens. Once it starts, close out of that. Close this window
Completely.
completely. Okay, so now your live streaming has started.
I
I
see.
need to make sure a couple other things are set up right. Does that work? Can you go to click on this video thing up where it says settings? No, the arrow next to it. That settings. Go to video settings. That. Okay, scroll down. Check hide non-video participants. Okay, now exit out of it. Now go up here on view. Gallery, you're good. That's what you want. Okay.
All right, thank you. It's always an honor to be visited by the commissioner himself. Farrar Parker.
You can just move that out of the way. Okay. Okay, so you should be good now. You need something.
Okay. All right. I believe, sure I'm going here. Yes, everyone. I'm Steve Bailey. I'm helping to administer part of the tournament here. I believe we've got a full complement of participants here at the present time. But let me just ask, would a representative of Team 5 please confirm that all the participants and a timekeeper are there, if there is a timekeeper? Or I guess more specifically, are here.
They're all here, Your Honor.
We're all here?
Yeah.
Okay, and how about Team 4? Would you please confirm that all the participants and timekeeper are here in this room?
All the participants are here, Your Honor, but at the moment, I don't see the timekeeper.
All right, do you know if a timekeeper has been designated for your team?
Yes, Your Honor, we have a designated timekeeper. I do not know where they are at the moment.
Okay, and I don't see him trying to come in. Well, we've got some pretrial matters to handle. Who is that timekeeper? Mr. Hernandez?
The name is Aspen.
Lang? Aspen Lang, are you here? I thought I'd let you in.
Yes.
Okay. So your timekeeper is here, Team 4? All right.
Your
And
Honor,
Yes, Your
I'm
Honor.
go ahead.
our timekeeper isn't actually here. I don't know where
Oh.
she is.
Okay, and who is that?
Paula Chorizo.
Okay, I'll keep an eye open for her, but we've got preliminary matters to take care of. In the meantime, Aspen, being a right and honorable human being, will be keeping time if we get started without your timekeeper present, because we're already running quite late. So with that, I will turn the proceedings over to Judge Miller.
All right, I think I'm unmuted. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, I'm seeing nodding. Perfect. All right. So bear with me, guys. I'm supposed to sort of edit this pretrial procedure list on the fly. based on the fact that we're all here by video now. You guys are on round 3. You guys know what's happening better than myself or the other scoring panelists. If we do something wrong or miss something, guys, don't hesitate to interrupt and just let us know, okay? So first, I'm supposed to ask if each side is ready for trial.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Then I'm supposed to ask for trial rosters. I guess if you guys have those that you can share electronically. Let me start with the prosecution. I think that's team 5. Do you have a trial roster you're able to share electronically?
Yes, Your Honor. Would you like me to screen share or put it in the chat?
Go ahead and screen share it, I guess. I think
Okay.
then we'll let the judges write down the names.
Okay.
And then scoring panelists, once this pops up, try and get the names as quick as you can. I understand you can get them later as well, but I'll give everybody a second.
This is Bailey. Which team is this, please?
This is team 5. Do any of the scoring panelists need more time?
I'm not getting the full sheet. There we go.
The scoring panelists have the names at this point? Okay, I'm not hearing no. So thank you, team 5, for sharing. Does the defense have a roster they are able to share?
Yes,
Team
Your Honor.
4, thank you.
Would you like me to screen share as well, Your Honor?
Please. Were the scoring panelists able to get those names? Or do we need more time? All right, I'm not hearing anything, so Team 5, you can stop sharing that. Thank you. All right, let's see. I don't have to worry about video recorders. Don't have to skip that. Don't have anybody who we shouldn't in the gallery. I'm supposed to remind teams that no recess will be allowed. You all already know that. Unless, of course, there's an emergency. So somebody interrupt and let us know if there's an emergency. All right, now, do any of the scoring panelists recognize anybody on any of the teams that may create a conflict? And in the interest of saving time, let me just ask the teams as well. Anybody see a conflict with any of the scoring panelists?
No, Your Honor.
All right, doesn't sound like we have any conflicts. All right, supposed to remind the teams and coaches that any disputes must be reported in accordance with the competition rules. Remind the team that their compliance with the time requirements will be considered in scoring individual performances. Nobody at all is seated in my jury box. We can skip that one. All right, now I'm supposed to ask each side to introduce participating team members and witnesses. I assume we're still doing that even though this is virtual.
Correct.
Your Honor, last round from my team, we decided to skip that because of the roster share and the online format was weird.
Okay, I agree the format's weird. I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to skip it. What's Team 5's position?
We're okay with that, Your Honor.
Okay, then I guess we have your names. We will associate your faces with your names when you give your performance.
Your Honor?
All
if I
right.
may.
Yes.
If you'd prefer, you or the jury prefer, we could announce our names before we go ahead and talk during our openings, closing, directs, crosses.
I think that would be very helpful, actually. So introduce yourself as your real name, and then if you're a witness, introduce which character you are as well. Make sure we know real name versus character, and that'll help the scoring panelists make sure they're scoring in the correct box, and help me make sure I'm scoring in the correct box. All right, the next apparently is the most important part. I'm told if I skip over everything else, I still need to swear you all in. We'll skip the stand part since everybody is seated in front of cameras. But let me have team members raise your right hands. Team members, do you promise that the presentation you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I saw a lot of muted yeses. That's fine. Witnesses, raise your right hand. Do you promise that the testimony you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to your witness statements, that you will not add material facts or opinions which are not contained in the case problem, and that you will follow the rules and procedures of the mock trial competition?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Gallery members, I don't think we have any gallery members. Gallery members are all watching on a 30-second delay on YouTube, right? Do I have coaches in the lobby? All right, I don't know if I do or not. I can't see all of you right now. It keeps switching off of gallery view. Either way, if I have coaches, behave yourself. You know the rules. Scoring panelists, please raise your right hands. Scoring panelists, do you promise to adjudicate the mock trial competition as fairly and objectively as possible in accordance with the facts, procedures, and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
Okay, perfect. Don't like how Zoom reverses my image. It looks like my left hand is up, but I assume it's my right hand for all of you. All right. Then it just goes on to rules, motions, emergencies, bench conferences. I don't need to reread the rules. So with that, prosecution team 5, any pretrial issues before we get started?
Yes, Your Honor, we have a few preliminary matters.
Okay, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Let the record reflect that both teams have exchanged copies of the rosters and case materials. Your Honor, we request the court's preference on redirects.
As far as whether I allow them or not,
Yes, Your Honor.
I was told I am to allow brief redirects and brief recrosses if there are any. So that would be my plan to follow the rules.
Okay.
So not required, but you're all allowed to give a brief redirect and then a brief recross if you have one.
Okay. We recognize that sound quality and internet connectivity may vary, and if at any point sound quality makes it difficult to understand, the court pause proceedings to allow witnesses or attorneys to repeat their question or answer.
So I am fine with that. However, that's going to be a timekeeper thing, right? Because I don't have any official time. If anyone thinks we need to pause proceedings due to technical difficulties, let's interrupt and talk about that, and we'll make a decision. Otherwise, if we don't talk about it, don't pause the proceedings.
Okay. We request remaining time for prosecution closing argument to be reserved for rebuttal.
That's granted.
And due to being Zoom court, I request that for openings and closings, attorneys may remain seated if they choose.
Yes, I'm fine with that. I will let attorneys handle that however they've prepared.
No further matters.
Okay. Defense, team 4, any preliminary issues?
Yes, Honor. We request the same preliminary matters to affect us.
Yes,
As
the
well
rules
as
will apply.
we request the
both.
my apologies.
That's okay.
We
They'll
request that
apply to both
timekeepers
sides.
be allowed. We request that timekeepers be allowed to post time remaining in the chat through the trial.
So you're coming through a little broken up, but I think I heard
Okay.
timekeepers being allowed to post times in the chat. Let me check. Prosecution have any objection to that?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I don't want it to be distracting, but I think that's probably the best way to do it. So that'll be granted.
And Your Honor, pursuant to Rule 7.4, whenever an exhibit, impeachment, refreshment, or any document is shown to a witness, permission for co-counsel to screen share.
Any objection from prosecution?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, it's granted.
And for the preliminary matters, Your Honor.
All right. Well, I think that covers everything I'm supposed to go through with you guys ahead of time. So we're going to assume it does, and I'm going to get started. So with that, let's see, is the prosecution ready to give an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed.
Revenge is best served cold when the expectations and reality start to blur. Your Honor, members of the jury, and opposing counsel, we are here today because of the murder of Mackenzie Brackman in the first degree and second degree burglary of a dwelling. It is the burden of the prosecution to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that these accusations are in fact true. Avery Becker, when he was a senior at Colorado High School, was on the mock trial team. The defendant, while good at mock trial, fought with his coach, Mackenzie Brackman, constantly. Avery Beckle expected Brackman to congratulate him when he won Best Attorney Award, but in reality, Brackman didn't applaud him in the way he had expected. In an act of quick revenge, Avery Beckle wrote Worst Attorney Award on Brackman's call. Mackenzie Brackman kicked Avery Beckle off the team. That is when he made the plan to vandalize Brackman's home. On March 6, 2020, the defendant approached Mackenzie Brackman's home, originally trying to get in through the front door, which was locked. Avery Beckle then went through the side gate into the back door. This time, it opened easily. Mackenzie Brackman was prepared for the defendant, as he had been notified by the Ring doorbell security system of his arrival. But somehow, Avery Beckle got hold of the knife. Avery Beckle then stabbed Mackenzie Brackman in the back, penetrating his thoracic artery. Over the course of this trial, you will hear testimonies from the prosecution witnesses, Detective Jordan Markowitz, Alex Sifowitz, and Kyle Kuzak. Detective Jordan Markowitz is a homicide detective for the Denver Police. Alex Sifowitz was friends with Avery Beckle, and Kyle Kuzak is certified in crime scene reconstruction. In an act of revenge, where expectation and reality did not coincide, Mackenzie Brackman bled to death. When revenge comes cold and expectation and reality blur, an innocent man was killed. At the end of this trial, you must see that the verdict is guilty on all counts. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. And does defense have an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed.
Your Honor, opposing counsel, and members of the jury. A blind eye from the truth. On March 6, 2020, Mackenzie Brackman was killed by an intruder within his own Denver home. When Coach Mackenzie Brackman was later found dead, Detective Jordan Markowitz pushed the false narrative that the murderer was our defendant today, Avery Becker. After a weak and rushed investigation, they are now wrongfully accusing Avery Becker for the murder of Mackenzie Brackman. Today, they are trying to charge him for first-degree murder and second-degree burglary. Today, we, the defense, are here to prove that the murder was not done by our defendant, Avery Becker, as well as show the flaws within their weak investigation. They purposely turned a blind eye from the truth. Avery Becker was a student at Colorado CHS during her senior year and was on the local mock trial team with her best friend, Taylor Perkins. Mackenzie Brackman was the coach for the mock trial team. During his time in mock trial, during Avery's time in mock trial, he had much success as he won Best Attorney Awards as well as Best Closing Award. He did all of this without too much effort, but others saw this lack of effort as laziness. Coach Brackman would berate Avery on this lack of effort, which built some conflict between the two. This berating came to a close after the team's regional competition. For the regional competition, Avery had won awards, but Brackman did not congratulate him for the accomplishments and continued to call him lucky for winning. His time on the team ended that night after he made the biggest mistake of his life. He accidentally grabbed a permanent marker instead of an erasable one and wrote on Brackman's car. After he'd cooled down from his rage, he tried so hard to contact Brackman to apologize for his mistake. He even offered to clean the car or pay Brackman to repaint the car, but never received a reply. He never got the chance to apologize before the tragic murder of Mackenzie Brackman. On March 5th, the day before the murder, Avery and Taylor decided to hang out after school. They stayed at Taylor's home for a little and then they left to the Fry Shack and the mall. On March 6th, Avery woke up and realized that her phone was missing. He had left his phone the day prior at some point during the travel with Taylor. Avery and Taylor decided to go look for Avery's phone the whole day. They checked with the staff at the Fry Shack, they looked at the mall and other places they've been, but they still couldn't find the phone. Taylor even tried to call the phone and text the phone to see if they could find it, but eventually they had to stop. Today, the defense, we do not have the burden of proof. The burden is on the prosecution to prove beyond a doubt that Avery broke into the home of Mackenzie Brackman and killed him. If you, the jury, have any doubts about any of their claims for any reason, we ask that you overturn the previous verdict and find that Avery Becker is not guilty of the charges facing her. I would like to direct you to jury instruction number 2, which states that the defendant is innocent throughout the trial unless proven otherwise. Today, we, the defense, have 3 witnesses who will testify. Our first witness, Avery Becker himself. Avery will attest to their time in mock trial, their relationship with Coach Brackman and other members of the mock trial team, and the day before and the day of the murder. Our second witness, Taylor Perkins, will attest to the relationship with Avery Becker and their time with Avery Becker the day before and the day of the murder. Our final witness, Professor Blake Van Owen, a private investigator, will attest to their own opinion on how the prosecution did their investigation, offer their own conclusion on what happened the day of the murder, as well as offer an alternate suspect. After the trial today, we know that we will have shown how the prosecution turned a blind eye from the truth through their rushed investigation, which could put an innocent boy in prison. We ask that if there is any doubt of the identity of the murderer, then we ask that you find Avery Becker is not guilty for the charges of first-degree murder and second-degree burglary. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, prosecution, you may call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to call Detective Jordan Markowitz up to the stand. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
I can't hear the witness.
Me either, Your Honor.
So this will be a good point. Pause the time, please, while we sort out the witness audio.
You guys hear me better now?
You're quiet, but now I can hear you. I couldn't hear anything before.
Can't hear it.
Okay, one of the scoring panelists still can't hear you.
Your Honor, may I have a minute to adjust?
Yes. She's going to adjust her microphone so that it's louder. So she asked for a minute to do that.
Better.
Could you hear her ask if it was better?
Yes.
Okay. Then yes, I think we're good enough then. All right. So go ahead and recall your witness, please. And we'll start.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
That's okay. I was just going to say, and we'll start the time over there.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to call Detective Jordan Markowitz up to the stand.
Okay.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
I'm Jordan Markowitz, Markowitz.
Detective Markowitz, what do you do for a living?
I'm a homicide detective with the Denver Police Department.
Can you tell me about your career after school?
I started my career with the Denver Police Department roughly 13 years ago.
And how long have you been a detective for?
I've been a detective for 7 years.
Are you specialized in anything else?
I have specialized experience with cell phones.
What do you mean by that?
I have a certification with the Cell Phone Technology and Forensic Data Recovery.
And where is it from?
It's from the American Academy of Law Enforcement.
Your Honor, I would like to enter Detective Markowitz as an expert witness, persistent to Rule 702 based upon her knowledge, skill, experience, training, and education. I'm tendering Detective Markowitz as an expert witness in cell phone tower technology and forensic data recovery.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, the witness will be so qualified.
Why were you called to the residence?
I was called to the residence to investigate a scene.
What was the address of the house you were directed to go to?
444 South Flower Street.
Can you describe the residence when you entered?
When I walked in, the door was open and there was a body laying on the floor that was bloody and deceased. I later found out it was Mackenzie Brockman.
What was the exact date of said death?
March 6th, 2020.
Your Honor, I would like to direct my witness's attention to the exhibits that have been marked as 1, 2, and 5.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you identify exhibit 1 for me, please?
Exhibit 1 is what I walked into when I walked into the house, and it is the body.
Can you identify exhibit 2 for me?
Exhibit 2 is a picture of the body at a different view, and you can see a stab wound in his left shoulder.
And lastly, can you identify exhibit 5 for me?
Exhibit 5 is the bloody knife as it appeared at the scene.
Are these types of photos regularly used for this type of investigation?
Yes, they are.
Did you use these type of photos in your investigation?
Yes, I did.
Do these pictures accurately reflect what you saw that day?
Yes, they do.
Your Honor, I move to enter exhibits 1, 2, and 5 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, exhibits 1, 2, and 5 will be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you tell me from these pictures where the knife entered the victim?
The knife entered the victim in the upper left shoulder.
You can stop screen sharing now. Thank you. After you saw the body on the ground, what did you go on to do?
I immediately noticed a Ring doorbell system.
Can you explain what that is?
The Ring doorbell system is a camera that can record when someone is at the house or when they ring the doorbell.
What did you do when you saw the Ring doorbell?
I went and looked outside of the residence.
And what did you find while walking outside the residence?
I found another camera on the side gate as well as the gate open.
What happened next?
I entered through the gate and the back door was open.
Then what did you go on to do?
I walked into the house using the back door and I saw the knife drawer partially open with several kitchen knives, a knife block, and some drops of blood, but sadly the drops of blood pictures were corrected.
After you saw the blood spatter, what did you go on to do?
I downloaded information from Brockman's phone, and I was able to get passwords to his Ring account, which allowed me to see his account.
Your Honor, I would like to direct my witness's attention to the exhibits that have been marked as 12 and 13.
You may.
Can you please identify what Exhibit 12 is?
Exhibit 12 is a video of the suspect entering the back door.
Your Honor, I would now like to direct my witness's attention to Exhibit 13.
Go ahead.
Can you please identify Exhibit 13 for me?
Exhibit 13 is the suspect leaving the house, perhaps at a run.
Are these fair and accurate representations of what happened with the crime?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, I move to enter Exhibits 12 and 13 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objections, Your Honor.
12 and 13 are admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you explain what happened after you watched the videos?
Yes. After I watched the videos, I thought of anyone it could be. I knew that Brockman was a defense criminal attorney, and I thought it could be an ex-client, but it was very unlikely.
What did you go on to do next?
I ended up following the evidence.
You followed the evidence?
Yes, I started downloading context from Brockman's phone.
Did you end up finding anything?
I found a tremendous number of texts and emails related to something called mock trial.
Then what happened?
With a little digging, I ended up finding out that he was a mock trial coach at Colorado High School.
And what did you do with that?
At the beginning, I reached out to a couple of students to see if they knew anything.
Did you find anyone that knew anything?
There was Alex Cifuentes.
Did you interview him?
Yes, I did.
What was discussed during this interview?
He mentioned how there was another mock trial member who...
And who? I'm sorry, continue.
Could you repeat your question?
I said I'm sorry I interrupted you. You can continue.
Could you repeat your question?
Yes, sorry. What was discussed during this interview?
He mentioned that there was another student on the mock trial team that texted them about Brockman.
And who was this student?
It was Avery Becker.
And what did you do with this knowledge?
Could you repeat that question?
I asked, what did you do with this knowledge?
I wanted to talk to Avery Becker, but she didn't have her phone.
So what issues did you say you came across while in the interview with Alex Fuentes?
Alex didn't have their phone, so I couldn't see anything that Alex knew.
So how did you get the text messages?
Alex sent me screenshots.
Your Honor, I'd like to direct my witness's attention to the exhibits that has been marked as 14.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Got good presence. Prosecutor. This is doing a good job. The witnesses.
Detective Markowitz, are these the texts that Alex sent you?
Yes, they are.
Can you briefly go over them real fast in your head for me?
Yes, I can. I'm done.
Thank you, Detective Markowitz. Can you tell me a little bit about getting these messages?
Well, like I said before, Alex didn't have their phone, so it left me with a choice of just getting the screenshots.
Can you tell me about the messages itself?
Avery Becker obviously wanted revenge for kicking her off the team.
Revenge. Detective Markowitz, what did Avery say that she was going to do to Mr. Brockman's house?
He said she was going to trash it.
Is this a fair and accurate representation of what happened during this interview?
Could you repeat your question?
I'm so sorry. Is this a fair and accurate representation of what you were sent?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, I move to enter Exhibit 14 into evidence.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. Rule 401 on definition of relevant evidence. I do not feel that Exhibit 14 is relevant or authentic.
Any response?
Yes, Your Honor. I feel this is very relevant due to the fact that this was the only evidence that my client had gotten to continue her investigation with this case.
So what does this piece of evidence go to show?
It's the best available evidence for what happened.
Okay. I will overrule the objection. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Overrule the objection.
What did you do after receiving these messages?
They let everything in. They let everything.
I wanted to obtain a warrant to search Becker's phone, but then I later was informed that Becker did not have her phone on March 5th.
Then what happened? Would you like me to repeat my question? Then what happened?
I was able to get records.
Your Honor, I'd like to direct my witness's attention to the Exhibit 7 marked as 15 and 16.
All right, go ahead.
I can't share it.
All right, why don't we pause the timekeeper for a second here? It seems like this is a technical difficulty we're having.
I got it, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead and resume timekeeping then.
Are these the records you obtained?
Yes, they are.
Are these fair and accurate representations of where Avery's cell phone was and where Avery was with the cell phone?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, I move to enter Exhibits 15 and 16 into evidence.
Any objection to 15 and 16? You're still muted.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, 15 and 16 are admitted.
Detective Markowitz, can you tell me a little bit about those records?
The records show Avery Becker's house, and you can also see them all in the fry shack.
Detective Markowitz, in your professional opinion, who do you believe killed Mackenzie Breckman?
Avery Becker.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination, please.
Detective Markowitz, you conducted a full interview with Alex Fuentes, is that so?
That's correct.
And you looked through his phone?
No, I didn't. He didn't have his phone.
So you had him email you screenshots of a conversation, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
And you did not find this suspicious?
No.
You trusted Alex's word that these screenshots were legitimate without further investigation?
Yes, I did.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor.
All right, then let me take 1 second to allow scoring panelists to score. And hopefully that's enough time. Would the prosecution call their next witness, please?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like Alex Fuentes to come up to stand. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
I'm Alex Cifuentes, Sifuentes.
What high school did you attend?
I went to Colorado High School in Denver.
What grade were you in when this crime took place?
I was a junior when Mr. Brackman was found dead. I'm a senior now, and it's not really the same.
What was your relationship with Mr. Brackman?
He was my mock trial coach, and a great one at that. He pushed us to do our best and to succeed. We all loved him, well, most of us.
What do you mean by that?
Avery Becker, one of the other students, and someone I would have called a friend, well, she didn't take constructive criticism very well.
What was your relationship with Avery Becker?
We used to be friends.
Earlier you stated that not many of the other members liked the defendant. What do you mean by that?
She would come to practice unprepared quite a bit, very often, and gave us, the team and the coach, a lot of stress.
From what you witnessed, did the defendant and Brackman get along?
No. He tried to help her and give her constructive criticism, but Avery did not like it one bit. They would get into heated arguments. He cared about Avery very much, but Avery was never really thankful for that, and their true colors really showed after the vandalism incident.
What vandalism incident?
Mr. Brackman had told Avery what mistakes she had made in the competition so that they could work on them and get better. Avery won Best Attorney Award, and he said that Avery didn't deserve the awards because they didn't do any of the work. Avery took his constructive criticism offensively and walked out.
What happened once the defendant left, or not the defendant, Avery Becker left?
Avery grabbed a marker on her way out. We had an easel with paper and permanent markers where we would write down our trial ideas. Then she wrote Worst Attorney Award on his beautiful vintage 1986 Porsche 911.
What happened after that?
Mr. Brackman kicked Avery off the mock trial team.
Did the defendant ever contact you after they were kicked off?
Avery was mad with desperation and at Mr. Brackman and wanted to get back on the team badly. They had sent me a text message asking me to talk to Coach Brackman.
And did you ask Mr. Brackman?
Yes, I made an impassioned plea, but he refused. Besides, the team was better off without her anyways.
What else did the defendant say to you through the text messages?
Avery threatened to break into his house while he was at work and trash it. I told them it wasn't a very good idea, but it seems they did it anyway.
Would you recognize the text messages if I were to show them to you?
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to show witness Exhibit 14, provided I show a copy to opposing counsel.
Granted.
From these, did you believe the defendant when they text you this?
Avery was very upset and clearly wasn't thinking straight. She was desperate to get back on the team and get revenge. I didn't believe it at the time, but maybe I should have warned Mr. Brackman sooner. I could have stopped all of this.
When you learned of the victim's murder, did you know right away that it was the defendant?
I was surprised that Brackman died, but I knew who did it. After all, she had texted me that she was going to trash Brackman's house.
Moving forward, after the untimely passing away of Mackenzie Brackman, what made you talk to Detective Markowitz?
Detective Markowitz had contacted me and informed me of Mr. Brackman's untimely passing and questioned me.
When Detective Markowitz contacted you, what did you talk about?
Well, I showed her the text messages.
Do you, knowing the defendant as well as you do, believe that he or she was capable of doing this?
Yes, her need for revenge clearly overshone the small heart she had.
And what was your thoughts on her need, or no, his need for revenge based on your personal knowledge of Mr. Brecker?
Revenge is best.
Speculation.
All right, hang on one second. One more time with the objection.
Speculation, Your Honor.
Any response?
Your Honor, yeah. I will not ask, Your Honor, I will succeed this question and no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, you have no further questions for the witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, so it sounds like they agreed, so that objection is sustained. And then I will move on to cross-examination.
Okay. Alex Cifuentes, you are a student at Colorado High School.
Yes, I am.
You were on the mock trial team with Avery Becker
I was.
and Taylor Perkins.
Yes.
You said Avery was lackadaisical.
Yes.
You said Avery's actions put the team in a bad place.
It did, so yes.
You said Avery was coasting on good looks alone.
Yes, I did.
Alex, did you say that your best friend Avery didn't have any real talent?
I have said that, yes.
You spent a lot of time honing your craft.
I have.
Avery made things up.
Yes.
This irked you?
I'm sorry, can you please restate your question?
Avery making things up irked you?
Yes, very much so.
Okay. Avery didn't work hard?
No, he did not.
And Avery got all the awards?
He did.
You were excited for Avery to be gone?
I was excited for the roles I would get, so yes.
And Avery is the person who you describe as your best friend?
Yes.
Okay. Shortly after Brackman's death, did you get a call from the police station?
Yes, I did.
Did you tell them that you had text from Avery that could implicate him?
Yes, I did.
But you didn't bring your phone?
No, I forgot it on charge.
Instead, you sent screenshots?
Yes, I did.
Detective Markowitz asked you to bring your phone?
To the initial interview, yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then this witness may be excused. Let me pause for 1 second to let scoring panelists enter scores. All right, if prosecution would call their third witness, please.
Kyle Kuzak, may you come to the stand?
All right, you may proceed.
Please state your name and spell your last for the record.
I am Kyle Kuzak. My last is spelled Kuzak.
Mr. Kuzak, what is your occupation?
Well, I am a Colorado Bureau of Investigation and certified in crime scene reconstruction, but you can also call me a CSR for short.
What is your experience in crime scene reconstruction work?
For 19 years, I have investigated complex crime scenes, including home invasions, burglaries, and other property crimes, 5 homicides, domestic violence, fatal accidents, and armed robberies.
What principles guide your investigation?
2 principles. The first, I believe this case is always going to trial, so I conduct a thorough, comprehensive search. And my second is starting from day one, I memorize documents and organize all documents with a mindset of reconstruction.
Kyle Kuzak, what is your first step in this investigation?
I created a witness tracking spreadsheet.
Would you recognize this spreadsheet if I showed it to you today?
Of course I would.
Your Honor, permission to show the witness what has been marked as Exhibit 17.
You may.
Your Honor, with your permission, I would like co-counsel to share her screen. So
Sure.
Is this your spreadsheet?
Yes, that is my spreadsheet.
Your Honor, seeing as Mr. Kuzak has authenticated this evidence, I would like to move it to be entered. I would like to move Exhibit 17 to be entered to be published to the jury.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, Exhibit 17 is admitted.
Kyle Kuzak, can you explain your spreadsheet?
Sure thing. Well, as you see on row 1, column 3, I got Alex Cifuentes. I misspelled his name. I put an S instead of an X. I apologize for that. It's a human error. And as you also can see, there's multiple suspects deemed besides Avery Becker. That's because I was given that from the police department.
Okay, thank you. Where have you spent your most recent years, Mr. Kuzak?
Where I've spent my most recent years is in the city of Denver.
Your Honor, pursuant to Rule 702, based upon the knowledge, skill, experience, training, or education, I am tendering Kyle Kuzak as a qualified expert witness in the field of crime scene reconstruction and analysis.
Is there any objection?
Brief order, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Mr. Kuzak, did you submit any proof of formal education to the court today?
No, I haven't.
Is there any proof of your training?
No, there isn't.
And Mr. Kuzak, you're only a civilian, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Your Honor, we have no objections to Kyle Kuzak being entered as an expert as a crime scene reconstructionist. We just ask that Mr. Kuzak stay within the scope of expertise.
Okay. Then I will admit him as an expert witness, and if you believe he goes beyond the scope, make sure you object and let me know.
How did Avery Becker enter the residence of Mr. Brackman's home?
Well, she entered through the. She initially went through. She initially tried to go through the front door, but that was locked, and so she then proceeded to go through the back door.
What led you to believe that there was a struggle, and what was the struggle about?
There was 2 indicators: broken plate and scuff marks on the kitchen floor, and that indicated a struggle. It was immediately inside the premises, and the struggle was about the knife that Brackman had from the knife block.
Can you elaborate on the scuff marks?
Sure thing. The scuff marks, there's no sign that they were made from the them. However, the broken plate is a sign that there was a struggle.
If I were to show you a photo of the crime scene taken by the Denver Police Department, do you think you would recognize it?
Yes, I would recognize it.
Your Honor, with your permission, I would like co-counsel to share her screen so the witness may view Exhibit 9.
Okay.
Mr. Cusack, what does this image show you?
It shows a sign of struggle. As you can see on the floor, there is a broken plate.
Mr. Cusack, is this a fair and accurate representation of photo evidence you evaluated for the case?
Yes, it is a fair and accurate representation.
Your Honor, seeing as Mr. Cusack has authenticated this evidence, I would like to move that it be entered as Exhibit 9 and published to the jury.
Any objection to Exhibit 9?
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 9 is admitted.
Why is this plate broken?
Well, the plate is more than likely broken due to the struggle that Brackman had with the intruder.
Can you please explain the knife that was found at the crime scene? Why is the knife different from the ones in the knife block?
Sure, I will elaborate on that. Well, the knife at the crime scene was a Chicago cutlery knife. It had a metallic handle. Yes, it was different than the knife that was found in knife blocks. Those knives were J.A. Hinkle's. They're more expensive than Chicago cutlery. However, it's not uncommon to replace a broken or missing knife.
Stop.
All right. Then cross-examination.
Afternoon, Mr. Cusack.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Cusack, you weren't first on the scene, is that correct?
Could you restate your question? I didn't hear
You
all.
weren't the first on the scene?
No, I wasn't.
And you'd gotten there after your colleagues had been there?
I did. I got there after they were there already.
You've been over all the police reports, is that correct?
Could you say that again? I'm sorry, I can't really understand.
You've been over all of the police reports?
Yes, that is correct.
And you've done a full analysis?
That is correct.
And you've done this because you believed any case you go over would go to court?
Yes, that is in my two principles on first step.
Go ahead and talk about the doorbell.
The ring
You've
doorbell?
seen all the doorbell footage exhibits.
Yes, I
sir,
have.
The ring. And you state that the person in the videos are the same physical features as Avery?
That is correct.
But the figure was wearing a mask, is that correct?
Yes, we don't know exactly who the perpetrator was. All I said that it matched the height and build of Avery Becker.
Was there any physical proof of the unknown identity?
No, not really, because the intruder was wearing a mask and gloves.
So there's no DNA other than the victims?
No, like I said, the intruder had gloves on, and we never got DNA from the intruder.
Mr. Cusack, you stated that there was a struggle, is that correct?
There was, yes, I did state that in my affidavit.
And you explained that the scuff marks or Exhibit 18 show this, is that correct?
I do, but I said it's mainly the broken plate that shows a sign of struggle. The scuff marks it could be another indicator. However, we don't really know if it's when they were made.
Mr. Cusack, in your analysis, have you reviewed the exhibits of Mr. Brackman's dead body?
I have.
And Mr. Brackman was stabbed in his back left shoulder?
That is correct.
And he died because he bled out, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, when he removed the knife.
And before this trial, there were originally pictures of blood splatter, is that correct?
There was, but they got corrupted.
Although they were corrupted, you still used them in your complete analysis, is that correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Kuzak, do you know Private Detective Blake Van Owen?
I've met him before.
And you know him from CSR conferences, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
You believe that she has a lack of understanding because she only reads reports?
Direction, relevance.
Response?
Your Honor, I'm setting foundation for future questioning.
Okay, I'll allow it. I'll overrule the objection.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzak, and you've reviewed Blake Van Owen's report, is that correct?
That is correct.
You believe that she's only looking for a desired outcome, is that correct?
Yes.
You believe this because of how, based on their conclusion?
Yes.
Would it be fair to assume that you're looking for a desired outcome as well?
I guess you could say that.
Yes or no, please.
Yes.
And that's because you're assuming that Avery was the intruder because of a general physical outline?
Yes.
No further questioning at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, and then I believe prosecution is out of time, so there won't be any redirect. So we will move on to, well, nope, let me pause quick. Let scoring panelists enter scores. All right, and then if defense counsel would call their first witness.
The defense calls Avery Becker to the stand.
All right, you may proceed.
Mr. Becker, could you please state your name and spell the last for the record?
Becker.
All right, hang on. Let me pause the time there. Could our scoring panelists hear that okay? Because he came through quiet.
So it's very difficult to hear. You speak up.
Would y'all like me to talk louder like this?
There we go.
Okay. Let me get my.
Your Honor, before we continue the time, could the opposing counsel attorney show their screen? There we go. All right. Mr. Becker, could you please state your name and spell the last for the record?
Avery Becker, Becker.
And Mr. Becker, who are you?
I'm here today because I am wrongly accused of killing Coach Brackman.
What was your relationship with Coach Brackman?
He was my mock trial coach at CHS.
And Mr. Becker, what is mock trial?
Mock trial is a pretend court case. It's where a bunch of teenagers all around the state compete to get a trophy, or not a trophy, but it's just a mock trial. It's just a pretend court case.
Could you tell us about your time as a member of the mock trial?
I really enjoyed it. I won Best Attorney Award and Best Clothing. So I was really good at making stuff on the fly, and I was just a natural at it, and I loved it.
Were you in mock trial with anyone you knew?
Yes, my friend Taylor Perkins, my best friend.
What was your relationship like with Taylor Perkins?
I liked it. He was my best friend. We always were around each other. He was my best friend.
What was your relationship like with Mr. Brackman?
Honestly, it was kind of rocky. We would always get into these fights, bickering at each other, and it was just rocky.
Could you elaborate on what you mean by rocky relationship?
Yes, like I said, we were always fighting. We were always arguing. He would often call me lazy and unprepared, and it just really made me mad when he would say those things. What did you?
Mr. Becker, could you tell the court today what the B team incident is?
Yeah, so coming up, I got bumped down to B team because he would call me lazy and unprepared. And Coach Brackman ended putting me on B team when I was on A team.
Did you ever get back to A team?
Yes, me and my friend Taylor Perkins were talking about it, and he said it was best if I went to stay with me on the A team because of my natural crossing and my natural at making stuff up on the fly.
What happened at the regional competition?
I ended up getting best closing award, and I was making these judges smile, you know?
What happened after that?
After that, we went back to the school. Could you rephrase that question? Or could you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
What happened after the regional competition?
We went back to the school, and where I grabbed the dry erase marker and went to Coach Brackman's car and wrote worst attorney award.
How did you feel after you wrote that on his car?
Honestly, I thought it was a dry erase marker. I didn't know it was a permanent marker. But after Coach Brackman saw what I'd done to his car, he was just upset. He was upset. And I honestly thought it was a dry erase marker. If I knew it was a permanent, I wouldn't have drawn worst attorney award on the front of his car.
Mr. Becker, did you ever apologize?
I tried to. I even went to the office and the secretary said that he was busy right now and he didn't want to talk to me. So I never got the chance to, and honestly, it's been haunting me today.
Mr. Becker, I want to take you back to Thursday, March 5th, 2020. And let's go ahead and talk about your visit at the Fry Shack. What did you do after school that day?
After school, me and Taylor we went to the Fry Shack where we saw a couple of mock trial team members. And we were playing on our phones, playing a couple of games, and I ended up losing it at the Fry Shack.
You mentioned people at the Fry Shack. Who was there?
Alex Fuentes and other mock trial team members, and Blair Rollins.
Who is Alex Fuentes?
Alex Fuentes is another member of our mock trial team. He always liked to say that we were friends, but we were only mock trial teammates. We never were really close friends.
And after you two left the Fry Shack, what did you do after?
Well, me and Taylor went to go to the mall and just to go hang out there for a little bit.
Now let's go ahead and talk about the next day, March 6, 2020. What did you do that morning?
I tried to look for my phone because I couldn't find it. I searched all over my house to see if I had placed it on the couch or in my room, and I couldn't find it. So on the way to school, me and Taylor Perkins decided to skip and go look for my phone.
What places did you go?
Everywhere that we went on March 5th, we went to the Fry Shack to see if it was there, and it wasn't there. And we went to the mall to see if I left it there, and we just couldn't find it.
Avery, did you ever find your phone?
No.
And where do you think you left your phone?
At the Fry Shack.
For clarification, Mr. Becker, where were you the entire day of March 6th?
Like I said, I was with my friend Taylor Perkins all day. We went to the Fry Shack and we went to the mall trying to search for my phone.
Mr. Becker, do you know who Blair Rollins is?
Yes, but I've only heard through rumors that Blair Rollins and Coach Brackman, Blair Rollins' dad is in jail, and apparently Coach Brackman was his attorney that got him sent to jail.
No further questioning, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Hello, Avery.
Hi.
You were a senior last year, correct?
Yes.
And you were on the mock trial team.
Yes,
And Mr. Brockman was your coach?
yes, and he was really good at it too.
And Mr. Brockman always called you lazy and said you didn't work hard enough?
Yes, he would call me unprepared most of the time, and
You and Coach Brockman didn't get along, correct?
not as normally as the other students. No.
Did mock trial come easy to you?
Yes, I was a natural at it. Like I said, I got best attorney award. I got the best closing in state, and I loved it.
So that's a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Did Brockman ever give you credit for anything?
No, he would just call me lazy and unprepared.
Brockman
Okay.
rewrote one of your closings, correct?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes, I'm sorry. Brockman rewrote one of your closings, correct?
Yes, he rewrote it because he thought I was lazy and unprepared.
Did you use that closing?
No, I ended up making something up, and it got me best closing award just going off the fly.
And Brockman bumped you down to B team, correct?
Yes.
So Taylor Perkins quit so you can be bumped back up to A team, correct?
Yes, after we talked about it, he thought it would be for me on 18, yes.
You won the Best Attorney Award and was named Best Closer at Regionals, correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Brockman ended up getting mad at you instead of congratulating you, correct?
Like I said, he would call me lazy. He called me lazy and how I should have been more prepared and how I need to follow the script that he wrote, and that would have got us.
So that's yes.
Made us, yes.
After you got really angry at Mr. Brockman and called him the worst coach in the state. Correct?
Sorry, could you repeat the last part?
Yes. After you got really mad at Mr. Brockman and called him the worst coach in the state. Correct?
Yes.
And after you stormed out of practice.
Yes. After I stormed out of practice, I thought I grabbed the dry erase marker. I went out to his white Porsche and reversed
That's
the
a yes?
award. Yes.
And after you stormed out, you wrote Worst Attorney Award on his Porsche.
Yes, but I swear I thought it was
And a permanent marker.
Yes, I thought it was a permanent or an erase, dry erase.
After you got kicked off the team for that, didn't you?
Yeah.
On March 5th, you claimed to have lost your phone, correct?
Yes, after Friday check.
So you skipped school to find it.
Yes, I skipped school on March 6th to go find it.
Did you ever find your phone?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor.
All right, this witness may be excused. We'll pause a minute to let scoring panelists score.
Judge Miller, for whatever reason, Mr. Becker's real name did not appear on the screen. Could I get that name, please?
Jeremiah Hernandez.
Thank you.
All right, defense second witness.
Excuse me, Your Honor, it appears that their Taylor Perkins has left the meeting or been kicked out.
Oh, well, then let's make sure we've paused all time requirements here. Is that the next witness?
Yes, but I think our Taylor Perkins is here. It's just that my fellow attorney Letizia Innocenti, I believe it is kicked out. I think she's not in the meeting right now.
Okay. Is anybody able to text her and see what's going on?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. And then while we're at it, if we still have our moderator here, keep an eye on the waiting room to see if the witness shows up.
I believe that that attorney Innocenti is in the waiting room.
All right. Do we still have our moderator or our official let people into the room person?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe I just let him in.
All right, perfect. All right, I have mine set to speaker view right now, so once your teammate has rejoined, let me know, please.
Okay, yeah, she's here.
Okay, perfect. Then let's go ahead and call the second defense witness, please.
Yes, the defense would like to call Alara Johnson to the stand. Not Alara Johnson, sorry, Taylor Perkins.
All right, go ahead.
Please state your name and spell the last for the record.
Taylor Perkins, Perkins.
Who are you?
I'm Avery Becker's best friend. I was on the mock trial team with him.
Why are you here today?
I'm here to testify for Avery Becker because I was with him at the time the crime occurred.
Where do you currently go to school?
I'm a freshman at CU Boulder.
Where did you go to school?
I went to Colorado High School.
Why did you do mock trial?
I only did mock trial because Avery was doing mock trial. I'd much rather hang out with my friends.
What is your relationship like with Avery?
We're best friends.
How is Avery as an attorney?
Avery was a great attorney, but he just never tried hard enough and was never really prepared.
What was the relationship like between Avery and Mr. Brackman that you observed?
They didn't get along at all. Mr. Brackman did not like Avery because he would play little pranks on him, and he did not like how Avery would put in a little to no effort.
What did you do with Avery March 5th?
After school, we decided to hang out for the day. We ended up just hanging out at my house for a few hours.
Where did you two go in the evening?
We got a little hungry, so we decided to grab a bite at the Fry Shack.
Who was at the Fry Shack?
Some people from the mock trial team were at the Fry Shack.
What did you all talk about at the Fry Shack?
We talked about how it was unfair that Avery was kicked off the mock trial team.
Why did Avery storm off to the restroom?
Avery stormed off to the restroom because Alex was saying it was unfair. He got kicked off the team, but in a sort of passive-aggressive way.
When did you two leave?
We left after Avery came back from the bathroom. Avery had left his phone on the table, and we left without realizing it.
Where did you go after?
After we left, we went to the hangout with the mall for a bit.
The morning of March 6th, did you contact Avery?
I tried texting him asking if we were going to go to school together, and I got no answer.
How did you eventually speak to Avery?
He drove to my house, and we spoke there, and we realized that he had lost it.
What did you two do the entire day?
The entire day, we retraced our steps looking for his phone.
What places did you go and check?
We went to the mall and looked around, and then we went to the Fry Shack. We were going to use Find My iPhone to look for it, but I have an Android, and at the time, we didn't know that you can use the Apple website to look for it.
Where do you think it was last?
We think it was last at the Fry Shack.
Did you go back to the Fry Shack again?
Yes, we went back to the Fry Shack to ask the afternoon shift if they had seen Avery's phone.
Why was the mock trial team there?
The mock trial team was there because Mr. Brackman had not shown up to practice, and he was not answering any texts, so they just went to the Fry Shack to hang out.
When did you find out about the death of your former coach?
I found out later at the same time as everyone else.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right, cross-examination.
Have you known Avery for a while?
Yes.
Would you consider yourself and Avery friends?
Yes, we were very close.
And you guys ditched school on March 5th, 2020 to look for her phone?
Yes, we did.
And you, her best friend, is her only source for her alibi?
Yes.
And Avery never had a great relationship with Coach Backman?
No, they didn't really get along.
And when she was demoted to B team, you saved the day by dropping Mock Trial.
Yes.
At the end of your statement, you say, but I would never lie about something like this. No, wait, never mind that. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Taylor Perkins, would you lie about Avery Becker being with you the whole day for March 6th?
No.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. This witness may be excused. I will pause a second to allow scorekeepers to score. All right, would defense please call their third witness?
I'd like to call Professor Blake Van Owen to the stand.
Okay. You may proceed.
Please state your name and spell the last for the record.
Blake Van Owen. That's VANOWEN.
What is your profession?
I am a private investigator, a professor, and an expert witness in police practices.
When did your experiences with police work begin?
My experience with law enforcement began when I joined the Aurora Police Department.
And are you still with the Aurora Police Department?
No, I am not. I stopped working there and I then started teaching a course on police procedures at Community College of the Rockies.
What did you do next?
I then got my master's degree in criminal justice through Ashford University's online program.
How helpful has your master's been?
Well, getting a master's degree opens doors that you didn't have previously. I've even taught a course at CU Denver on police practices and social justices.
You've mentioned being an expert in police practices. Could you elaborate?
I have become a regular courtroom witness in the areas of police practices, use of force, false arrest, and forensic evidence techniques. I also testify as an expert in crime scene reconstruction, cell tower analysis, and general police investigation tactics.
I understand you've been accepted as a defense expert in many states.
Yes, I have been. Colorado, Kansas, and Arizona, and in state courts in Colorado, Wyoming, Nebraska, and New Mexico. I've been accepted by various courts as an expert in crime scene reconstruction 8 times, in cell tower analysis 5 times, and in general police investigation tactics 12 times. I've also consulted in over 100 cases.
Your Honor, pursuant to Rule 702, based upon their knowledge, skill, experience, training, and education, I am entering Professor Blake Van Owen as an expert witness in the field of crime reconstruction, cell tower analysis, and general policy investigation tactics.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor, a brief idea.
Go ahead.
Is it true that you never mentioned how long you were an officer at the Aurora Police Department?
Yes.
Did you mention in your affidavit how you are qualified in cell tower analysis?
I'm sorry, can you reword that question?
Do you mention how you are qualified in cell tower analysis?
I don't recall.
Okay. No objections as long as the witness stays within their qualifications.
Okay, this witness will be admitted as an expert. Thank you.
Professor Van Owen, you have received Kyle Kuzak's crime scene reconstruction reports, as well as Detective Markowitz's cell tower reports. Is that right?
Yes, I did. I also conducted my own partial investigation in certain areas that I believe were neglected by the police in this case. Based on my experience, the police investigation was rushed.
Rushed?
The police came to an easy conclusion, leaving significant doubt as to who committed the crime. They were careless and even managed to lose some of their evidence.
And do you personally know Kyle Kuzak?
Yes, I do. We have met at multiple conferences we have both attended. I generally like Kuzak, but he can be a bit egotistical.
What did you decide on after reading Kuzak's report?
I decided that Detective Markowitz influenced some of Mr. Kuzak's findings. I do agree that physical on-scene evidence points to the intruder, but this is all we can agree on.
And what do you mean by influence?
Markowitz planted the idea of Avery Becker as a suspect in Kuzak's mind, which would have colored Kuzak's analysis. Kuzak's opinion regarding the struggle lacks foundation.
What is your expert opinion in regards to the evidence presented?
The physical evidence shows that Kuzak's theory is unreasonable. The only apparent evidence of a struggle is supposed scuffing on the floor.
You mentioned that Kuzak's opinions regarding whether or not there was a struggle lacked support. What did you mean?
For one, we have no way of determining when the scuff marks were made. They could have been there previously for all we know.
Were there any other of Kuzak's conclusions which you disagree with?
Yes, based on the knife's position, Kuzak believes that the intruder was in front of Brackman and that they wrestled for control of the murder weapon. This opinion once again fails to consider the way the knife was held. I have reviewed autopsies and crime scene reports from hundreds of stabbings. Most people would hold a knife pointing downward, but not everyone does.
And you don't agree?
Correct. For an intruder to stab Brackman in a downward angle and still nick his aorta, especially if Mr. Brackman and the intruder were both standing, the intruder would have had to have been much bigger than the victim. This fits Detective Markowitz's theory of the stabbing, but the ring videos we have prove otherwise, showing that the intruder was not that large.
What was Detective Markowitz's theory?
Detective Markowitz makes a big deal of the ring gap alerting the victim of the intruder. He would have us believe that the victim was aware of the intruder and tried to arm himself. But as someone who has a Ring doorbell, I know that they can turn off notifications.
And are you familiar with Detective Markowitz's cell tower reports?
Yes, I am. I have closely inspected the records of the cell tower.
And what do these records indicate?
Well, the records supposedly show that Avery Becker's phone was near the house at the time of the murder. However, that does not necessarily mean that Avery Becker was near the house.
It doesn't?
No, it doesn't. Avery Becker lost the phone the day before the murder. And another student by the name of Taylor Perkins has confirmed that Becker did not have the phone on the day of the murder. Taylor Perkins also verified that they were together during the time of the murder of Mackenzie Brackman. In fact, they were actively looking for the phone during that time.
Tell us, how accurate can cell tower data be?
Well, cell tower data isn't like GPS information. Even though it sounds precise, it's not overly accurate. Since we do not have the actual phone, we cannot find out for sure if the phone was near the victim's house.
Could you explain that?
Well, in some areas, a single cell tower can cover up to 100 miles. In others, tightly packed towers cover up to 6 or 7.
And what does that mean?
This means that cell phones can connect to multiple towers. Cell phones are designed to select a tower that provides the best signal when connecting to the network, which isn't always the nearest one. This is why I take issue with Markowitz's theory.
Which is?
Markowitz believes that the call detail records indicate that Becker's phone traveled from near Becker's house to near Brackman's house, just before the murder. All we know is that at a particular time, the phone communicated with a cell tower in that general area.
In your expert opinion, what is more likely?
Avery Becker lives near a major traffic route, and it is equally likely that the person who had possession of the phone was traveling that way. I also find fault in the fact that Markowitz only looked at information in the cell tower data related to Avery's phone. There were other ways he could have come up with a better conclusion.
Earlier on, you mentioned that the police managed to lose some evidence.
Yes, there were images of blood droplets in the hallway and pictures of a parent cast off on the wall near the front door. Normally, I would assume it was corruption, but in this case, it is most likely incompetence.
Was there anything else of importance regarding the missing photos?
Not entirely. The knife blade would have been plugging the wound, so when Brackman pulled it out, he unfortunately bled out rapidly. The missing photos would not have a large role in helping to understand the crime scene or in identifying the murderer.
What do you know about the screenshots which Alex Fuentes sent to the police?
Just that the police accepted them as legitimate evidence without a second thought, which I am shocked about. They didn't bother to look at the messages themselves.
Moving on, who is Blair Rollins?
Well, Blair Rollins is the child of Jonathan Rollins, who was one of Mackenzie Brackman's clients and is currently serving time in prison. Blair Rollins was a senior at CHS last year.
And do you think it's important to acknowledge Blair Rollins in this investigation?
I definitely do. Blair Rollins lives near Avery Becker and is the same height and build as Mr. Becker. Some of the evidence which the prosecution has collected and is using against Avery Becker could also apply to Blair Rollins.
And what do you think of Blair Rollins in relation to the murder of Coach Brockman?
I think Blair should have been investigated further. They have a good motive, and Blair went missing after their graduation, which was 2 months after the murder. I'm not saying Blair Rollins is the culprit. We can't know that because they weren't investigated properly.
Then what are you saying?
I think it's important to note that Blair Rollins is a more probable suspect than Avery Becker. The investigation was completed with a blind eye turned to the truth, and there is no reason to believe that Avery Becker committed the crime. Blair would have served their revenge.
Why is there no reason to believe that Blair committed the crime?
Like I said, Mr. Becker and Blair Rollins were of the same build and lived near each other. As far as we know, Blair could have just as easily hid under the mask and taken the same route to Mr. Brockman's house.
What are your conclusions regarding this case?
It's simple. The investigation was rushed. The prosecution turned a blind eye to the truth and didn't bother investigating to the full extent of their ability.
Thank you. The prosecution rests.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
Professor Van Owen, you teach police procedures that you say that you are disillusioned to?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Professor Van Owen, do you teach police procedures that you say that you're disillusioned to?
Yes.
Do you have a problem with the police force?
Yes.
Professor Van Owen, is it true that you disagree with a number of department policies?
Yes.
Is it true that you think the police took the easy way out in this investigation?
Yes.
Is it true that you are accusing Detective Markowitz of planting the idea of Avery Becker committing the crime in Kuzak's mind?
Yes.
Is it true that you left the Aurora Police Department after injuring a woman of color?
Yes, I did. It was an unfortunate mistake, but I was cleared of wrongdoing after we decided that it was police procedure.
And the reality is that you never clear yourself of wrongdoing?
Can you repeat that?
And the reality is that you never clear yourself of wrongdoing, correct?
Yes.
Isn't it true that you find Kyle Kuzak egotistical?
Yes.
But isn't it also true that you consider yourself a jack of a single trade of policing?
Yes.
Do you agree that someone did in fact break into Mackenzie Brackman's home?
Yes.
Is it true that you completely neglect the idea of the broken plate being a sign of the struggle?
I don't recall.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, this witness may be excused. We will pause for a second before closings just to let panelists score. All right. Does the prosecution have a closing statement?
Yes, we do, Your Honor.
You may proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, members of the jury, and opposing counsel. Revenge is best served cold when the lines between expectation and reality starts to blur. We've heard from 6 different witnesses today, 3 saying that Avery did it, and 3 saying that Avery is innocent. Today, the prosecution came to show you that Avery Becker is guilty, and today we in fact have. We've heard from Avery Becker himself that he wrote on the car, vandalized the car, and after he got kicked off the team. He then texted Alex Cifuentes saying that he would get back at Brackman if it was the last thing he did. He wanted to get back at Brackman. He wanted the revenge back on Brackman. We heard from Van Owen today on the defense side. Van Owen neglected that the play could result in no struggle at all. Van Owen also didn't have an exact time of how long she worked in her old job with the Aurora Police Department. So how do we know she's really reliable? Revenge comes cold when expectation and reality starts to blur. They are trying to put the blame on Blair Rollins. But Blair Rollins had no motive to kill Mackenzie Brackman. Mr. Brackman was murdered by Avery Becker. Avery Becker and him and Mr. Brackman didn't have a great relationship. They got in a lot of fights. And Avery got so mad and had such a temper that he just did whatever came first to his mind. Taylor Perkins quit the team for Avery Becker. What else would she have done? How do we know Miss Perkins isn't lying or is lying about where Avery was? Or how do we know that Taylor Perkins didn't help, in fact, kill Mackenzie Brackman? Avery Becker had a motive to kill Mackenzie Brackman. Avery Becker wanted her coach dead because her coach called her lazy and said she didn't work hard enough. Avery Becker wanted to kill Mackenzie Brackman because Mr. Brackman said that Avery didn't deserve all of the awards he got at regionals. He didn't congratulate Avery. He said that Avery simply didn't try hard enough, and that's how it was. Alex, one of Avery's old friends, came here to testify to us today and showed us the messages of what Avery texted Alex. Avery obviously wanted revenge on Mr. Brackman. Detective Markowitz came here, told us the struggle, showed us the scuff marks that proved there was a struggle. The day of March 6th, 2020, Avery Becker went into Mackenzie Brackman's home, through the back door where Mackenzie Brackman was ready to fight. It was a struggle. We saw the scuff marks. We saw the broken plate. Avery Becker had a motive to kill Mackenzie Brackman because when expectation and reality starts to blur, it gets bad. It gets messy. Avery Becker wasn't in his right mental state and therefore murdered Mr. Brackman. There was a struggle. There was, and Avery Becker did it. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Defense closing.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, opposing counsel. Today, we were presented with a case against Avery Becker, a case rushed by the prosecution, who have done nothing other than turn a blind eye to the truth, all in a scattered attempt to put tragedy behind them, all while ignoring said truth. It seems convenient to blame Mr. Becker for the murder of Mackenzie Brackman, but the truth is, the evidence simply isn't there. There is reasonable doubt. We know Mr. Becker's phone has been lost since March 5th, meaning that whatever evidence the prosecution claims to have regarding cell phone towers and the location of Mr. Becker's phone during the day in question is unreliable at most. We know that Detective Markowitz failed to obtain Alex Cifuentes' phone and instead accepted emailed screenshots as evidence for a murder investigation. Screenshots showing a conversation which supposedly took place between Mr. Cifuentes and Mr. Becker. But then again, the prosecution chose not to investigate any further. If Detective Markowitz was able to overlook such an enormous detail, who knows what else they may have overlooked? Once again, we see clear as day, the prosecution is turning a blind eye to the truth. Need more proof of their disregard? Just look at how careless they were in regard to the missing photos. Cusack himself admitted today that his opinions were influenced and that he was looking for a desirable outcome in the investigation. We know the prosecution has made it a point that Avery Becker is the right height and build to be the intruder. But what does that account for? The intruder was dressed to conceal their individual characteristics, and Avery Becker is not the only person in the world of his height or build. If height and build are so important, why wasn't Blair Rowlands investigated further? The prosecution claims that revenge is a dish best served cold. But who's to say that Blair Rowlands wasn't the server? Avery Becker has made mistakes, like writing on Coach Brockman's car, which he admitted to and apologized for profusely. But breaking and entering? Murder? No, Avery Becker cannot and should not have to take accountability for such gruesome acts. And yet here he is, fighting to prove his innocence. The prosecution's inability to collect evidence just adds to the fact that no decision can be made against Mr. Becker at this point in the investigation. There is reasonable doubt. The prosecution is grasping at straws for an answer. They've based their entire case in regard to motive on a juvenile disagreement between a student and his teacher. Yes, it's true. Coach Brockman and Mr. Becker did not have the best relationship, but there's absolutely no reason to believe that a rocky relationship with a student got Coach Brockman killed. That is an injustice, both to Avery Becker and to the memory of Mackenzie Brockman. Avery Becker was just a few months shy of graduating high school and never having to see Mr. Brockman again. So why would he throw his entire future away for such a silly and minor dispute? He wouldn't. Mr. Becker's life is just beginning. Don't make a rash decision due to the prosecution turning a blind eye to the truth. Avery Becker is innocent. Our eyes are wide open. We see the truth. Do you? Please, don't turn a blind eye to the truth. Thank you.
Thank you. Did the prosecution want to use their remaining time for rebuttal?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury and opposing counsel, we know that it was Avery Becker. We have the proof, we have the evidence. But we also know that Blake Van Owen only works for the defense. She has never worked for the prosecution. She has been in multiple court trial cases and never once has it been for the prosecution. Blake Van Owen gets paid a lot to be the defense attorney, to be the defense and private investigator. So she only looks for the things that will help out the defense. Avery Becker had a motive to kill Mr. Brockman. Blair Rowlands didn't. Yes, Blair Rowlands' father was put into jail because of Mackenzie Brockman, but Blair Rowlands wouldn't have killed him. We know it was Avery Becker. Avery Becker had the motive. Avery Becker said that he would get back at Mr. Brockman if it was the last thing he did. He lied to his mom about what happened that day at practice at school. He lied to his mom and said everything was fine. But later, he missed school on March 6, 2020 with his best friend, Taylor Perkins, who would quit anything for her. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hope today you find enough evidence and proof that it was Avery Becker and is in fact guilty. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, we'll let the scoring panelists finalize their score sheets. And then maybe the best way to do this is to have the scoring panelists show up again on video once they've completed their score sheets. Then we'll know they're done. Looks like we're still waiting on one of our panelists. Oh, there we go. All right, let me ask, were all the scoring panelists able to submit their score sheets? I want to make sure we got that done before we give any comments.
Yeah, it looks like mine went through.
Okay.
I believe mine went through as well.
Mr. Munt, did your scoring sheet submit?
Well,
We hope.
yes, I did.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, if everybody wants to pop back up online, then I know I have to call afterwards for mine, but I promise not to change anything. Let's see. I think we're supposed to give brief comments if we have any. Mr. Munt, do you want to go first?
Well, I thought they all did a very good job. I'm a little hard of hearing, so I would suggest to those people who have a small voice, you might try and speak up a little more, because people in some degree of that may miss what you're saying. I think you presented your case as best you could. Sometimes it's difficult when you don't have the facts to do as good a job as if the facts were a little different. But I think you all did a great job.
All right. Who wants to go next?
I will.
Okay.
Agree, you all know the case very well, and you are all very well prepared, and I think you handled having to do it.
You're fading out, Amanda. A little closer to your speaker.
Just scream into my computer. You can hear me because I have bad audio. I was saying I thought you handled, you knew your case very well. You were all well prepared. You handled having to do it in this very strange format very well. And so, yeah, I don't have a ton of feedback, but good work and good luck.
All right, next.
I would agree that everybody appeared to be very well prepared. As a former mock trial coach, I know the number of hours that you put into this, and it definitely showed. You did all know your cases, and you did very well. And I'm particularly impressed, given the challenges of this year, how you were able to adapt to the Zoom format, and how you were able to be flexible and still deal with all the technological issues and all the other problems. So all of you did an outstanding job. I am a hearing officer with the Department of Revenue. I conduct hundreds of hearings per year and see hundreds of attorneys, and I think you are all well on your way of becoming one of them if that's what you choose to do. The only thing I would note is something that I say almost every year, and it was true as well today, is that sometimes you don't realize how fast you're speaking. So my only piece of advice is to take a breath and maybe slow down a little bit. Even if you think you're going too slow, you're not. You just don't realize how fast you end up speaking. But overall, congratulations for a job well done and for all of the time and effort that you've put into this today.
So first off, thanks to Aspen for timekeeping for both sides. I appreciate that. I don't know if the other team's timekeeper ever showed up, but I saw Aspen posting. So I appreciate that, Aspen. Just out of curiosity, are we A teams, B teams, seniors, freshmen, a mix?
We're freshmen.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a junior.
Yeah,
We're,
for
14
a little mix up.
Okay. All right. So the whole gambit on 4 and then freshmen on team 5. You guys all did great. I've also coached mock trial forever. I used to coach Coronado. I don't know what school you guys are from, but I coached Coronado for, I don't know, maybe 15 years. And then now I'm coaching CC's team this year. It is a bizarre year with video, guys. So just kudos to all of you for still doing this. I wasn't sure we were even going to have a team this year, high school or college, because of this. I will tell you, I wasn't going to initially judge, mostly because I'm tired of looking at Zoom. Because if you guys aren't aware, that is how I'm conducting court. My courtroom is empty right now, and it is empty all the time. And it's really lonely and boring in here. And I'm tired of looking at the computer screen. But at the last minute, I signed up, and I'm really glad I did. You guys all did awesome. You worked really hard, and I'm really glad I ended up judging around. So for those of you that move forward, good luck. And otherwise, come back next year. I guess I didn't say, I've been a judge for not that long, only about 2 years. I didn't say anything about myself. Prior to that, I actually worked with Amanda at the public defender's office. She didn't say what she did either, but she's a fantastic attorney that I worked with at the public defender's office. And then I've been appointed to a judge for just over 2 years now. So good luck, all of you guys. I assume you'll get the score sheets. So I guess I won't give out any individual, although there's no comments on there. I will say, Livia, I thought you were an exceptional witness. Good job, really strong witness. Everybody, your attorneys, I'm shocked that you guys are freshmen. I would not have guessed it. That's why I always ask. You had a lot more experience, it seemed, than freshmen. So good luck. Hopefully you guys move on to tomorrow's rounds. Obviously, I don't know, but good luck if you do. Let me check in with our moderator then. I don't know the process from here. If I can let everybody go, then everybody can go.
If, well, 2 things. One is if all the scorekeepers have submitted their ballots and confirmed that they've been submitted, then yes, you can close the courtroom down, and then we'll figure out a way to get Judge Miller's scores over here because of the security there at the courthouse in terms of transmitting information.
Right.
And
I took down your number, so I'll give you a call.
Okay.
Did you get everybody else's score sheets, or at least are you able to confirm they're submitted?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
And we've got your phone numbers if we need them.
All right.
And then just one gratuitous comment from tournament administration. Mock trial is such a great program for the students. The things you learn are so great. And you have kept the flame alive for this program by doing this year. This is the kind of thing that could just wither on the vine. But for you to be here keeps the flame alive. I think we're going to come back bigger and stronger by virtue of your commitment to this program. So I really want to commend both teams and parents and coaches for doing just that.
Good job, everybody. You all may disconnect.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.